Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And when I started doing these videos, there was some things I knew that I would probably hit upon. And there were some things I thought I'm probably never going to hit upon. And what we have here today is something that never even entered my mind that we would ever hit upon. It's just so unbelievable that I actually failed to comprehend it on the first read through. It's like, what? I think people who have children going to school need to seriously look at taking them out of the schools. Now, I've done lots and lots of videos on what's going on in schools, but I mean, I was completely blown out of my tiny mind when I read this one. I'm not going to dilly-dally anymore. I'm just going to go straight into it. And trust me, it's barely believable. Let's have a look. Right, this is the article, and I'm kidding you not. You're not going to believe what we're going to hit on this one. So I'll go through. We'll do the headline first. Sex education provider responsible for teaching school pupils is accused of normalising rough sex, with online guide that claims being blindfolded and having pain inflicted are among the things people can do to each other. Remember, this is aimed at 14-year-olds. Think of a 14-year-old boy, and we all know what kind of horny dog they are, and you're teaching them that to tie someone up, blindfold them and hurt them is normal and acceptable. Now think of your daughter when that 14-year-old boy is doing it. And then think of the school who's teaching this. Think of this organisation that says this is okay. It's not okay. One contractor charges £500 a day to deliver sex education sessions at schools, but its online guide aimed at over 14s has controversial section on rough sex. MP Miriam Cates said the content risks encouraging extreme sexual activity. Miriam Cates, I've mentioned her before on the channel. I follow her on Twitter, and I suggest anyone watching this go over to Twitter, find Miriam Cates MP, and follow her. She speaks great sense on this. She's a fantastic advocate for the protection of children. She stood up. She holds she holds a candle to the dirtier underside of what's going on in the society, and we back her completely. Marvellous woman. An MP, so obviously, politician and all, but actually one of the good ones. So, we like her. Anyway, carrying on. A sex education provider responsible for teaching pupils has been accused of normalising rough sex, which is covered. Private contractor Bish, the best in sexual health, Bish, beating the Bish more like, charges $500 a day to deliver sex education sessions at secondary school. It has testimonials from the elite fee-paying Westminster School as well as King's College School in Wimbledon, southwest London. But in its online guide, aimed at over 14s, a section on rough sex claims that being blindfolded, held down, having pain inflicted or being held captive are just some of the thousands and thousands of things people can do. You are talking inches away from the R word. And you're telling 14-year-old boys that this is acceptable. You think that's bad? The next line. Choking, and I'm not joking, choking is listed as an activity, even though non-fatal strangulation became a crime last week, as it was included in the domestic abuse bill. Bish school materials also include advice around gender, with teachers told to say someone's penis instead of man's penis, and we all know the madness that lies going down that route. To be more inclusive to transgender people. No, to be more inclusive to the mentally ill. Only men have penises. Women, they have aspirations. Come on, girls, you know I'm joking. It's a joke. Penis envy, jag. Hey, it's postmodernism man here. We're allowed a little bit of irony. Relationship and sex education became compulsory in English secondary schools in 2020, with many contracting out the teaching. And the reason they're contracting it out is a lot of the young teachers today, they're millenniums themselves. They lack the spine or the ability to discuss these things. So for them, it's like, oh, it's sex, a bit squishy. Oh, don't feel comfortable, because they're all bloody jellyfish. So they farm it out to companies like this, who then go and produce corruption, filth. It's disgusting. I'm just disgusted by it, and I can feel the bile rising in me. Deep breaths, and I will calm down. But concerns have been raised over a lack of regulation, and ministers have asked the Children's Commissioner for England to investigate. Too bloody right. Now, Bish is run by Justin Hancock. Nominative determinism, anyone? And there is no suggestion that he promotes the website in schools, but it is freely accessible online. Mr. Hancock's claim that rough sex is pretty common with young people is based on a US study at one university, which found 1 in 4 female undergraduates had been choked during sex. Did they ask for it, or did it just happen? Plus, they're undergrads, they've left school. They're not 14-year-old boys. The website states that rough sex is for consenting adults only. Then why are you pushing it to 14-year-olds? But Molly Kingsley from parents group Us For Them said, the tone and language of this site sets up an expectation that choking or smacking are just part of the rubric, and that can't be right. And she's right, it's not. It's wrong. It's wrong. You don't choke people. You don't hurt people. If you do that, you're one step away from being an R-ist. Tanya Carter of Safe Schools Alliance said, it's impossible to understand what would motivate someone to think that conflating this kind of behaviour, talking about the VIO, with sex in materials aimed at children is a good idea. This dangerous culture needs to be challenged, not reinforced. And then Tory MP Miriam Cates, who I mentioned earlier, said the content risks encouraging extreme sexual activity. She said, any child development expert will tell you that children are not able to process information and that it's harmful. It is. It's damaging to children, and ultimately it'll be damaging to your daughters. Because it'll be the boys who are stronger will be choking the girls, tying them up, choking them, beating them. And ask yourself, do you want your 14, 15-year-old daughter to undergo that? Because the school is pushing it. Westminster School and Mr. Hancock declined to comment. I bet they did. A King's College school spokesman said any content provided by contractors is appropriate and consistent with national guidance. And we have not used Bish since 2020 and have no current plans to do so in future. In other words, they've found out what's gone on and they've dropped them like a hot potato. And just a couple of comments here as this thing's ongoing. Should be surprised, but I'm not. Save your children. Get them out of the damn schools. If you have children of school age, better start finding out what they're telling them is normal, as this is not. So yeah, so, I mean, there's more, and they're all basically along the same line. They're agreeing with my sort of viewpoint on that one. I'm going to come up, take a deep breath, and then I'm going to round off the video. So I'll see you in a moment. I took a moment before sort of coming to the end piece here because I did have to calm down. But it is wrong. It's evil. When you are teaching children in their formative years that the use of extreme force, shall we say, in conjunction with any kind of sexual, pleasuring, it conflates in their mind that the two must go hand in hand. And then you have to ask, where does it stop? Because if it's starting with inflicting minor pain and choking, where's it going to end? It's going to end in some very severe pain and possibly worse. You're creating psychopathic behaviour where you're negating any form of compassion for the person you're with because you're making that person your plaything. It's okay, tie her up, beat her a bit, choke her. Don't consider her to be a human being. The people who are running this course need to be arrested, tried and locked up for a long time. The headmasters of any schools that have used them need to be arrested and tried and locked up for a long time. This is disgusting. It's perverted. And again, it's those sexual deviants that keep going after children. It's always children. and you have to ask why. And if you're the parent, and if you can do it, take your kids out of school, homeschool them, protect them, because the schools aren't there to protect your children. The schools are there to corrupt your children. And you can just look at this and lots of other videos I've done on this. This is just the latest one, but it's sickening. These sickening, disgusting perverts keep pushing this agenda on children. Hey, 14-year-old boys, go on, grab her, tie her up, put her in a space, beat her. It's okay. It's sexual pleasure. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's abuse to start with, and it will lead to R, and I think it will ultimately lead to M. And they're pushing this. Anyway, I'm going to stop there before I absolutely lose my mind. It's a disgusting thing that's happening. But what do you do? What do you do? If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, protect your children, and goodbye.